Hey, so let's get this thing started, everybody. Welcome to everybody whose first class this is. Glad you guys were able to join. I'm really excited for you for taking this journey. Really cool. Definitely looking for, like I said, 2020 people to learn how to code. I understand that some people are going to come and figure out that it's not for them, whereas some people are going to come and fall in love. And that's what I'm looking for those shining stars. So let's make this thing happen. This week number 4. Let me turn my camera back on. Once again, welcome everybody. Antoine.Digital Unlock Academy. This is lesson number 4. And lesson number 4, we're going to be going over some more essentials for HTML and CSS. Got a cool lesson lined up for you guys and also some cool homework. So last time we left off, we talked about images, and I told you guys if you want, try to take a deep dive and start learning about videos. Today I'm going to do a little bit of Code Academy, but then I'm going to show you guys another one of my favorite websites. So we'll go over to that, and then I'll go into a bunch of other cool things you can do with CSS, and then we'll even go over the homework. So I'll start off and show you guys I'm over here in Code Academy, and some of you guys have already took the step and did this lesson, so I really commend you. And so you know about videos, but just in case, I'll go over this and maybe be able to help you learn a little bit more as well. So videos are really cool. They're kind of like the image tag in a sense of you can display something visual opposed to just text, right? But unlike the image tag, there is a closing tag. So remember, with the image tag, it's self-closing, whereas with our video tag, it closes itself. So you see, we have a closing tag. So we have the open, we have some attributes in there, source, width, height, controls, which we'll talk about. Then we have some text here, which we'll talk about as well, and then a closing tag. So it's important to remember that this is not like the image tag. It does not self-close. In this example, the video source SRC is myvideo.mp4. The source can be a video file that is hosted alongside your web page. So this is an example like with the images, where I tell you to make an images folder and then put your images in that folder, right? Put the physical images in your project folder. We could do the same thing. We could make a folder called videos and then download a video into our computer and then put our video right into that folder. Or we can use a URL that points to a video file that is hosted on another web page. Okay, so that's most likely what you'll be doing with videos, because videos are so huge. They can be a couple hundred megabytes, or they can be a couple gigabytes, right? So instead of hosting them inside of your project, what you want to do is host them somewhere on the internet. So some examples would be to put it inside of like Google Drive, inside of your iCloud, inside of Dropbox, inside of Amazon. Amazon has a service where it's totally dedicated to hosting videos and images and different content. A lot of people don't know this, but one of Amazon's biggest money makers is not just like their online store, their e-commerce store where they sell products. They are killing it when it comes to cloud services. So they help a bunch of companies around the world, big companies, like really, really big companies. They are their hosting. Like, I know you guys probably heard of a web host having like your website needs to be hosted somewhere. When you have like a really, I want to call it, like you need a powerful hosting platform, a powerful cloud server, Amazon is where most people go at first. There's some other ones. Google has one as well now. Microsoft has one as well. But Amazon is really dominating the hosting space, the cloud space. So they have a bunch of server space where you can store all your images, all of your videos, your whole project if you want to. So that's way later down the road. But I just think it's cool to let people know, like, Amazon is way bigger than just selling books and other like retail items online. So if you host a video on Amazon's It's called AWS S3 storage. S3 stands for like storage. Their storage. So if you put a video inside of their storage, they'll give you a link back. So they give you this long URL, and then anybody who has that URL can watch that video. We can take that URL, like this one right here. You see it says S3 Amazon AWS.com. They give you a link to it, and then you can put that URL into your video element. So I'll show you guys. This is my image element up here. And then over here, I have a video element. So in my video element, I have the link to that image. To that video, if I wanted to, I can also show you here. Post that link. And let's see where it takes me to. Oh. So weird. Maybe I need to close this tab out or something. Just showing me the main Google page. Okay, for some reason that link is not working, but I'll still show you guys it in action. So what we do is we take that link, we post it inside of our source attribute, source equals, and then we paste that link. And then over here, we can also give it a width, we can give it a height, and then we also have this new attribute called controls. What controls does is this is what makes all of those extra buttons pop up on the video. So I'm gonna go down here to my video, which is right here. And if I don't add controls and click run, you see I don't have a play button, I don't have a fast forward button, I don't have a make the screen large, make it full screen thing, the sound. None of these buttons exist. So this controls is really important if you want to be able to let your user on your website control the playback of the video. Okay. So the video element is really easy to use. There is some extra gotchas. If for some reason the video does not work, you need to make sure you add some text here in the middle. The text in the middle lets the browser know to show the words video not supported. So depending on what browser your user is using, they may be using Internet Explorer, and this video format may not work in Internet Explorer. Maybe it doesn't play MP4s. If that's the case, you still want to leave like a some type of backup measures and let the browser know to show this text to the user, which will say video not supported. That way the user knows, okay, a video was supposed to be here, but my browser doesn't show it. So you can even put more details like video not supported by your browser. Try using Chrome. Right? You can put anything you want inside of there, and then it will show up whenever that video doesn't work. So you can give it an attribute of width, an attribute of height. I'm going to move my face for a second. You can then, like I said, you can also give it an ID just in case. If you wanted to do something later on, give it a border, make it, you want to manipulate the size from a different area. You really have all control. So that's if you have a direct link to a video file, right? A video file. What if you wanted to put like a YouTube video, like a link to a YouTube video or a Vimeo video or something like that? If that was the case, what you would do is use something called an iframe. So right now I'm on this website called w3schools.com. And W3 Schools, pretty much the three, worldwidewebschools.com, really popular web developer site to learn how to develop on the web and even learn some other cool stuff too. So you can learn a lot of things, right? You can learn a bunch of different things. I'm thinking about taking this Raspberry Pi course soon because I really want to get good with Raspberry Pi, which is just like a mini computer. I've had some experience with it, but I want to take it to the next level. Yeah, so you can come here and learn a bunch of different things. We're going to be learning some HTML and CSS from here. This website is really, really cool. I learned a lot from it. So let's talk about iframes. What is an iframe? An iframe tag specifies an inline frame. An inline frame is used to embed another document within the current HTML document. Really important. I'll read it again. An inline frame, which is iframe, is used to embed another document, right? So you can embed one document into the current HTML document. So if you ever wanted to put a web page inside of a web page, and I know sometimes that's like, what? Why would I ever want to do that? But it's possible. It's possible. Let's say you don't want your user to leave your web page, but you want them to see content from some other web page. Sometimes an iframe is the best thing to use. So over here, we have an iframe, right? This is what it looks like inside of our typical HTML setup. What you do with an iframe is you define the open and close tag, and then you give it a source. So just like the image element and just like the video element, the iframe has a source element saying, where do you want me to pull content from? You want me to show you some content, but where is it coming from? So you always want to give it a link to some type of external document. Okay, so in this case, it's linking to w3schools.com. So right here, and then also we can give it a width and a height. Let me see if I give it a width of 500 and then a height of 500. Click run. Now it's way bigger. So now we can see this is a whole web page inside of another web page. So like if I had to say a heading, oops, H1. Below is the W3 schools website. Right, type that code, click run, and boom, there you go. So now we have our regular code, but then underneath it, we have like a whole website, right? A whole website. So it's really cool how this works out. Now, a way that this can be useful is, let's say you have a YouTube video. Let's see. I'll go over here to YouTube, and okay, so in order to be able to share this video, right, what I would do is, and add it to an iframe, I will click the share button. I will go to embed. And then if I click embed, it gives me the code. It gives me the HTML code I need, okay, to show this on my page. So now I just copy this, take it back over here to my editor. I'm going to put it right underneath this H1. Boom. So they give you a couple extra attributes as well. A border, if you want to give a border to it, you could. Accelerometer, autoplay, encrypted, all of this extra stuff. These are advanced attributes. You don't have to worry about these right now, but just know that you can do some really cool things. Click run, and now, boom, I have access to that YouTube video. Am I subscribed? Better subscribe to that boy. Now I got access to the whole YouTube video right here. So this is the key code right here. Even if I get rid of all of this extra stuff. Okay. If I get rid of that, this is the key code. This source equals, you go to youtube.com/embed, and then they give you this unique ID. This unique ID can be found in the URL for the image, for the video. So if you go up here to YouTube, look up in the URL bar, and you see V equals, this is the ID for this unique video. Every video that YouTube has a unique ID. So literally we can copy and paste this. If you wanted to build this from scratch, you don't have to go and get YouTube iframe code. You can build this from scratch. So you type an iframe element, open and close it, give it a width, give it a height, and then you type https youtube.com/embed/ whatever your ID is. This is the key part right here. Okay. So that's how you do YouTube videos. Iframes are a great way to be able to embed one document inside of another. Iframes are popular. They're supported by every browser, every popular browser. If a new browser comes out tomorrow, maybe it won't be. So it's good to also know that you can do the same thing with videos. You can put text inside of your iframe, and this is what will show if the source cannot be found. Okay. Or if actually if the source can't be found, it won't work. This will show like a 404 or something like that. Yeah, there you go. That's different. This will be found. This is what will show up if the iframe is not supported. Cool. To deal with browsers that do not support iframe, add a text between an opening iframe and a closing iframe tag. Use CSS to style iframe. You can add scroll bars as well. Okay. So here's a couple different things you can do, different attributes. Okay. Scrolling, yes, no. I'll give you an example how you would implement that. You can pretty much go over here and add another attribute called scrolling. Say equals yes. And then that iframe will be scrollable. Okay. So we'll dig deeper into this as we go along. But it's just good to know that this is how you go about it. You can't just, I know it's really, really tempting to just go to YouTube, grab this link, and try to post that link inside of this source. And then click run. But that's not how it works. You can't just post that link inside of it because that's not a document, right? That's a link to a web page. The actual document is a embed, something that YouTube creates for you with that embed URL. So really cool. I love it that they give you this option to do so. That way we don't have to go around downloading videos from YouTube, right? You don't have to download it. You can just it can stay on YouTube and you can embed it into your web page. So if you guys have any problems, any questions or problems, let me know, and I'll be sure to go over it more. What I want to talk about now is getting into some more CSS. So I want to go over CSS list, right? We talked about already what a UL tag is, what an OL tag is, unordered list versus an ordered list, right? But like I told you, I gave you a heads up. You can also do some pretty cool things with those bullet points. So here you see we have white bullet points. Here we have some black square bullet points. For the ordered list, you see we have our typical 1, 2, 3, but we also can add our Roman numerals for 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So how do we go about that? We have to add some CSS. So in HTML, there are two main types of lists. Unordered lists, the list items are marked with bullets, and ordered lists, the list items are marked with numbers or letters. Okay. There's different things we can do. We can set different markers. And a really cool thing is we can also set an image as the list marker. So instead of a bullet point, you can actually use an image. Also, you can add background colors to the list and the list items. So let's talk about what it looks like to change that marker, right? Different list item markers. The list style type property specifies the type of list item marker, okay? The type. What type do we want to add? Do we want to use circles? Do we want to use squares? This is for unordered lists. We can pick between circles or squares, right? I wonder, try something out. So this is the code over here. Oh no, you know what? Here we go. I want to say that's still a thing. Yeah, that's the default. It's the default. So by default, you have something called disk. Think of like disc that you toss and throw around, okay? But you can also make this to a circle. So that's for unordered lists because we're talking about bullet points. We can do these squares or we can do circles. We can also do something for ordered list, upper Roman, like we have here. We can also do lower Roman, lower alpha, or we also can do upper alpha. Okay. So just some examples. This is your normal code that you already used to with the UL tags. They did some advanced stuff right here with this. The way that they defined it, they didn't use the ID. They used something called a class. And we're going to talk about class soon. Classes are just like IDs, but instead you can give more than one thing the same class name. So we'll talk about that later. Don't worry about it right now. Okay. So those different types that you can give as markers. We can also use the image as a marker. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. So in your CSS, what you would do is you would create a property called list style image, and then you would do a URL. This is important. You have to type URL, but you could type any image you want in between here. I can go and find some image on the internet. It can be images/logo.png, and then that image will show up right here as the bullet points. So you don't see it too often, but it's good to know that you have the power to do so. Okay. I just want to show you guys sometime what you can do. You don't need to know everything. It's just good to at least understand that you have the power to control certain things. Every list doesn't have to just be some squares or just just some circles. You can make them square. You can make them white. You can make them black. You can add images to it. So Q asked a good question. Laura asked a good question. Laura, I'm going to get to your question in a second about the background color. Q would like to know how can we mix numbers and letters? So if you want to mix numbers and letters, which is a great question, it's something that you do see a lot. This is what you would do. So let's just say we want to start off with a number list, right? We can do something like this. If it's a number list first, we can say OL. So let's start off with that because we know it's going to be numbered, right? And then inside of this, we can say something like, this is LI. Let's say we're talking about steps. First steps to bake cake, right? Close that off. So let me just see what that looks like first. All right. We have an ordered list. We have a number, an ordered list. Now down here, you create everything inside of every single child inside of a OL or UL has to be a LI. So I make another LI, open and close it, right? But this time, inside of this LI, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another list. This time it's going to be a UL list. So look what I just did. Inside of my LI, which is a list item, I'm saying this new list item is actually going to be a list. So your list item can be a new list. And then you do LI now inside of here. I can say get ingredients. Mix ingredients. Okay. And now when I click run there, oops, got to get rid of this. Getting this 2 right here, and I don't want this 2. Oh, okay. Okay. I did that wrong. Okay. So we don't need that second one. Only thing we really need to do is create it right inside of here. So now we have our UL, we have our LI. Okay. So this is just pretty much like the heading. And then we can go down here. So now my next list item, which I can do right here, LI, first steps to bake a cake. This can be next steps to baking cake. And then this will have number 2, and then we can have a bunch more things inside of here if we needed to. Okay. So really cool. You can embed lists inside of other lists. Okay. This is another thing that you can do. Let's say you want to say what the ingredients are, right? I can also go in here and put another LI here and say cake mix. Almond milk. This is some examples. Make sure I wrap this in I think I have to wrap this in a UL tag. Here we go. So now, as you notice, and I'm going to indent this so you can see it really, really clearly. Okay, so you can see it really clearly. So we have our main list, and then we have a sub list, and then we have a sub list. And you know that this is really common. So it's important to learn that this is possible and that this is how it works, because we see all the time list inside a list inside a list. You start with a bullet point, then they have bullet points underneath that. Okay. So this is also why it's important to start nesting your code. That way you can see how everything is connected. So we have an OL, a LI, a UL, a LI, a UL, another LI. And we could have kept going. We really could keep on going, keep on going. I wouldn't suggest it because after a while it probably look weird, but depending on what you're trying to do, it may be called for. It really may be called for. So it's good to know what power you have. Okay. If you have more questions, guys, just feel free to throw them out there. I'm here. We also can change the positioning of the list item markers. So those bullet points, we can change the positions to be either inside or outside. Now, at first, when you look at a list, you may not notice that there's an inside outside. If you just look at this list right here, for example, right, you don't know, like everything just looks like it's in the same format. But I like this table right here. Now, if you pay attention to these two little tables, right, they show you that it's really a border around by default. By default is a border around the words, and the bullet points are on the outside of the words. Okay, the bullets are on the bullet points are on the outside of this like table, if you notice. Okay, so that's by default. In the background, they already mentioned list style position outside. You don't have to change anything. That's just how it is. But as you notice, as you type more words, the words go right underneath the initial text. It doesn't go outside of the table or outside of that bullet point. But what if you did? What if you wanted to kind of wrap around like here? Can you see the difference? As you notice, you have list style position inside. Means that the bullet points will be inside the list item. So now when the text goes to the next line, it's actually side by side. It's right underneath that bullet point. So by default, I usually always just use this here, the default one. But just in case you ever needed to, it's good to know that you also can control that. Okay. So you can play around with that, try it out yourself. you could click this try it yourself button and you can give it a shot. And so you can see the difference. Okay. What else? What else? What else? This is cool. You can go through that as well. I want to go over here and show you guys how to start styling, and you can make something like this with a cool background color. Pretty much what they did here was when you want to give a background color to your list, you give the background color at first either to the whole OL. So this OL is like a pink, right? So this whole thing is a dark pink. But then they also gave the UL a background color, which is like a lighter pink. Okay, so you can do that as well. So it's just good to know that you have the power to change that. All you have to do is give it a background, colon, and then go here. So nothing too fancy, Laura. It's just really giving it a background. These numbers right here are hexadecimal. I told you guys that we're going to get to those soon too. I'd rather you just stick with regular colors for now, like pink. Okay. But as you see, hexadecimal lets you be way more specific. And all of my websites, I'm not using just regular pink, blue. I may type black. I may type black because you can't get black wrong, right? You can't get that wrong. You can't get white wrong. Those are easy. But if you want a specific pink, that may not be the pink you're looking for. So it's good to learn about hexadecimals. That way you can get the exact color that you're looking for. This is more so like a peach. I don't know. I can't really tell. Yes. Agree. Yes, Laura. Yep. Great question. She said if we did the modification in the previous examples, the bullets and numbers would be in the light pink section, which is this here on the inside. Yep, and that's if you make it inside. How do we know the codes for specific colors? So I'll show you. If you guys joined my Cool Tool session earlier, or if you watched the Cool Tool session video, you can learn how to inspect this element. Let me show you guys something. So let's say I go over here and I inspect this element. Now I can see the color. So over here it tells me this is my code. This is the exact code you see over here. Now you can see it over here in the inspector. So what I like to do is if I'm looking for a specific color, you click here, and then now this color picker shows up, and you can go through here and change it to any color you want. So this is really, really cool. If you're looking for a specific color, now you can kind of just go through here, find your color. If I scroll down, and then you'll see the hexadecimal right here. And you can copy and paste this and put this into your web page. Okay, always have to have that hash in between. Now, if for some reason, let's say you want to find your color, what you can do is you can just Google it. You can say CSS hexadecimal color codes. I'm telling you, everything you think of, just Google it. Just Google it, all right? And then a bunch of different websites are going to show up. And then you could just pick which one you want, all right? So let's say if I know what color I'm looking for, I can go in here and I can try to find it. Like, you know what, it's like a dark red I want. And boom, there's the number I need, right? Right here. So now I can copy that, take it over here. Let me get out of this editor. I'm going to close that, delete that, add it there, and boom, there's my red. Okay. So yeah, just Google it. I'm telling you, just Google any color you want. You do not have to memorize it, right? You do not have to memorize it. All you have to do is go and look it up. I also have a plugin up here, a Chrome extension. You probably can't see it, but it's up here where I can literally click this little button and go to color picker, and then it gives me all of these different colors. So if you guys want, I may do a cool tools video on this. It's called Colorzilla, and you can install it into your Chrome, and then now you can find any color you want, and the hexadecimal pops up right here. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys cannot see my screen. So for some reason, my webinar software is not showing this extra window that just popped up, but pretty much it's a window right here. Wow, how can I show you guys this still? Let's see if I can still show you guys. Bear with me for a second. I'm going to take a screenshot. Okay, capture this image. Save it. Okay. And then okay, and then lastly, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so you can see it. Oh, there it is. Now you guys can see it. I had to share my entire screen instead of just one window. So right here is a new window that pops up when I click on this little button here. So I can click that, click color picker, and literally I can go through here and pick any color I want. And it gives me the hexadecimal value right here. So it's kind of small on my screen, but you guys get the point. So it's a cool extension for Chrome. You can check it out and get a bunch of different colors. And then it even shows colors that you picked in the past. So let's say you're looking for, let's say you're building a website and you have a specific theme in mind. And you're like, hey, I want to go back to that purple I had. Where is that at? They have a whole history thing over here. So you can always just go back, click on it, and then copy your hexadecimal code. Okay. So yeah, it's called Colorzilla. There's a bunch of different ones, but I like this one. It seems to be really cool, reliable, and no glitches. So yeah, W3 Schools has some more examples. Like they really go in depth and try to help you learn more about it. If you want to check it out, feel free, dive deep. Yeah, that Google Dev Tools is really I can't underestimate how or like underplay how much it's really helped me with coding, because it helps me directly see behind the scenes and change things instantly. It makes you faster, more productive. So please check out that Cool Tools video. I'll upload it to YouTube soon, and you can check it out there as well. Cool. So let's move on. Let's start learning a little bit more about more CSS, but this time we're going to talk about styling some images. Okay, we're going to learn about styling images. So here we can use CSS to actually give our images a border, a rounded border. Okay, so right here, this is the code for this image. So you see it's kind of rounded. The corners are really softly rounded, still kind of square, right? This one is really heavily rounded. Same image, but we added so much border radius to it. Border radius is the CSS property. We added so much to it that it actually became like a circle, because the corners got so round it actually came in. So it started off as a square, and then the circles, the corners got so round that it became like a circle. So sometimes you want to do that. You want to manipulate a picture and make it look like a circle. Sometimes you just want it to have like these little corners that are rounded, kind of more modern. It's really up to you, preference. You don't have to do this. You can also keep your images super square. Okay, but to do so, what you do is you just add a border radius, border dash radius, and then you give it a number. The higher the number or the higher the percentage, the more rounded the borders. Okay, I'll say that again. The higher the border radius that you give it, the more round the corners. Okay. We can also add a border to our images, right? If we wanted to, we could do something like this. And I want to try this one out to show you guys how cool this is. So down here in our HTML, our body, we have an image tag, right? Source equals Paris.jpg, alt Paris style, width equals 150 pixels, right? So they put some CSS down here inline, but then they also put some CSS here. Remember what I told you guys, inline CSS will always override the other CSS, the embedded CSS. If I click run, nothing changes. I changed the width, but nothing changed because this is still here. As soon as I get rid of this though, and I click run, now you see the image change because now this takes effect. But I'm gonna go back and keep their code the same. Okay, keep their code what it was. So let's talk about this border. What they did was, for one, they gave it a border, like a thick border, so 1 pixel. They made it solid, and they made the color DDD, which is like this light color, like a gray. It's kind of like a gray. We can also make this. Let's see what EE looks like. Also, like even lighter gray. What about FEF? Like a pink. Okay, so you can add whatever color you want to it. And then also the more important part is that they gave it a border radius of 4 pixels. This is what makes the image rounded. I want to make this image bigger so that way you guys can see it. I'm sorry, you probably can't even see that border. There you go. And I'm gonna make this right here black. That way you can see that border. Okay. And then they made the border radius 4. If I made the border radius 0, you see it's no rounded corners. If I make the border radius 100, see how round it gets. Okay. So really cool. So now what I want to do is, on this note, while we're here, I want to talk about what padding is, padding and margin. So padding is like giving your elements space on the inside, right? Every element, like I said, some elements are block elements, some elements are non-block elements. They're like inline elements. So margin is giving space. I'm gonna type this up too. Adding space to the outside of your element. Then padding is adding space to the inside of your element. So right here, as you notice, right, we have a border, right? If I give this a padding of 0, it looks like now the image has a direct border. You can see that it's like the image is connected to the border. But because I added padding, what I'm saying is add some space on the inside. So everything in between the border and the image, or excuse me, add space in between the border and the image. That's what padding does. So if I go 10 pixels, now you'll see this white space in between the image and that border. So sometimes it's really important to add padding to certain elements. It sometimes makes things easier to read, and I'm going to show you an example of that here in a second. Now, margin on the other hand is adding space to the outside of an element. Okay, like I said, if this adds space to the inside, I go 20 pixels, you're going to see how much white space starts getting added in between the border and the image. But what doesn't change is the space. If you look, the space in between this sentence right here and this image, it doesn't change. No matter how much padding I add, the space in between this sentence and this image does not change. If I want to add space in between this image and this sentence, what I have to do is add margin. So what I would do is say I make that bigger, Now you see it start separating. I'll make it even bigger. See how further away it's getting from this sentence? That's because we're adding margin. Now, I want to be more specific. What I did here was I added like margin. When you put margin like this is going to add 50 pixels of margin to the top, to the left, to the right, and even to the bottom. Sometimes you only want to add margin to the top or just to the left or just to the right. So what you can do is you can type margin dash and then direction. So it could be margin dash top, margin dash left, margin dash right, margin dash bottom. Click run and you'll see. So now it moves back over to the left. There's no space over here to the left, but we still have our margin up here. Okay, so now I can literally just control how far it is from this one sentence. We can even go negative numbers. Watch what happens when I go negative. It goes higher and higher now, to the point that it clashes with it, even can go beyond it. Okay, so that's saying like, hey, I want negative 40%, 40 pixels margin. Sometimes you need to do that if you want to raise the element up. And I know right now it may sound weird, but later on you'll see like I need to do that. So yeah, we can add a margin top. We can add margin left. I'm sorry, I just changed this whole editor. Excuse me. To light mode or dark mode. Margin top, margin left, margin bottom. You really have the freedom to add space all around your element or all inside of your element. So really cool. Right now you may not need it, but you may need it for your homework actually. Not need it for your homework, but you may want to use it for just to make your website look cooler. Okay. So that's margin and padding. I suggest you guys look it up, dig deeper into it. I'm sure they have a, you can go over here and you can like look up padding CSS. And then here you go. And they'll give a tutorial on it so you can learn more about it. Yeah, I'm glad you rewatched the session, Samantha. Rewatching this video always helps you. It's just repetition. Coding is all about repetition. It's just like working out at a gym. You go try to do a pull-up, right? The first time you try to do a pull-up, you won't get it. It's like, what the heck? I can't pull my own body weight. This is crazy. But next thing you know, you try it a few more times, a couple more days, and you're doing a half a pull-up. Next thing you know, that half a pull-up turns into a full pull-up. All right. Next thing you know, that full pull-ups turns into 2 pull-ups. Before you know it, you're doing clips of 20 and 30. So it's really important to just repetition. Repetition really pays off. Repetition is the father of learning. That's what I was taught. So yeah, check it out. This is just how you do a deeper dive, learn more about CSS padding. Okay. So next, what I want to talk about is probably one of the most important elements, or excuse me, one of the most important properties of CSS. It's called float. What float does is this is how we put images, elements, videos, everything side by side. If you ever seen, if you've been coding so far and you're mad because everything looked like it's going literally down the page, this is how you change that and make your website have more structure, where you can put things next to each other and put things either even like 3 things or 4 things next to each other. So right here we have 2 elements, 2 squares or 2 rectangles. One says float left, one says float right. All right. This one, float left, is floating to the left of this element, right? Float left just means I want this specific element to be to the left of the next element. So let me show you right now. Okay, over here we have some text, we have some code, right? We have this P element, and then we have another P element with a bunch of text. This is just dummy text. And then inside of it, if you notice, we have an image, right? We have an image element. But why is it that this image element, right? I ran it, it's run. even though it's right here before this text that says lower ipsum, in fact, I'm going to put Unlock Academy so that way you can really see it. Right? So I have Unlock Academy over here. Over my code, I have it right underneath my image, but it's not right next to the image. Okay? Why is that so? Because what we did was, up in our CSS, we said float right. We told the browser to make sure our image floats to the right of the next element, to the next content. So now this image element is not to the left of or on top of Unlock Academy or anything like that. Instead, we told it to float to the right. So now it's to the right of it. So really cool. You can tell where you want each image to be. If I say float left, click run. Now look, it's to the left of it. So you have control to say where you want these things to go. I also want to show you guys, and we're going to talk more about float. We're going to go all the way deep into it. So this is float left, but you notice how this text is like so close to this image, right? How about we go ahead and use this should we use margin or should we use padding? Because right now I want to add space to the right of my image. So I'm going to ask you guys. I'm going to ask you guys in a poll. Should I use margin or padding to add space in between the text and the image? Okay. Oh, you guys already answering margin. Cool. Give everybody a chance to answer. I'm looking at this poll. So far, we had like 85% margin, 90% margin. Hurry. So we look like we stuck at about 90-10 or 88-12. Cool. So everybody who said margin got it right. Margin is the right answer. So remember, margin adds space to the outside of the element. Padding adds space to the inside of the element. Let's see what happened if I add padding first. It may actually show you, this is the funny part, it's going to actually look like some space was added. See that? But it also, and as a matter of fact, let me just add padding right, just so we're more specific. Padding right. It looks like it worked, but that's really not the effect that we want. What we want to do is add margin right. And right now you can't see a difference at all, but if we add a border, 1 pixel, solid, black, we see that our image is still the same size. Whereas if I use padding and I run that, now look, now the image is even bigger, which is not what we want. We don't want to manipulate and change the size of the image. We literally just want space. We just want some space to the right, to the elements that's next to it. So it's really important to know the difference and when to use each. Sometimes you can like literally be loose and just use whichever one you want. Like in this situation, it wouldn't have hurt to use either one, but sometimes you're going to run into problems trying to use padding when you should really use margin, and use margin when you really should use padding. So we don't want that space. We just want to add that. Okay. This P tag, let's say I say give it an ID of middle paragraph. I want to show you guys how to get the most out of padding. So I gave it an ID of middle paragraph. I go over here, make a CSS selector. and then I do a padding of 50 pixels. This is going to make everything in the middle here. So this whole paragraph now, I'm going to give it a border as well. It moved everything. So this is with no padding, right? And this is with padding. It gives it some space, but I like this. It gives it a lot of white space. It makes it easier to read. It makes this whole block of paragraph stand out. You can really see it really good. And this is what a lot of the new designers are using. They're using like the power of white space. Add this white space so that way the user can focus on the important information. Okay. I was saying before that Apple is really, really good at this, at using white space. Let me see if I go to apple.com. Okay. So I was about to say, of course, Apple just changed their whole website to black. That was about to be a huge surprise. I can't believe that. So, but yeah, down here you start seeing more. This is what they're used to doing. If you notice, look at this. Look at all of this white space that they have, right? A bunch of white space. That way things can really stand out. It's really an effective strategy as a designer to use white space strategically. It makes it easier, more user-friendly. People are more likely to stay on these type of websites longer just because it's easier to read and things pop out. These colors start to pop out way better because it's surrounded by this white space. Okay, so that's just an example. Of course, you can have black space too. Look at all this extra black space around. Okay. Cool. So that's that's using actually margin and padding right around it. If somebody said, I never realized how clean Apple's design was. Literally, that's how they get most of their users. Apple is great with taking everything Android does and make it look more beautiful. Right? I'm an Android user. I also have a MacBook, but I'm mainly Android. But I noticed like that's what they do. They really know how to make things look great and feel great. They're really good on user friendliness and user experience. So I respect them for that. Like Laura said, they do their research. They have focus groups. They know what people want. And it pays off. It pays off in the long run. So you don't want to be that person creating a bad interface because that literally can make or break your website or your app. I'm sorry to throw the Apple shade. No Apple shade. I respect them. I really do. I respect them. But I also don't want to offend anybody. I know how you guys are about your blue bubbles and everything like that. About your FaceTime and everything. Okay, cool. So next, I want to show you guys how to really get the most out of floats, right? We just showed you how to use one float, right? But I'm going to show you guys. I'll show you guys how to, so I'm going to go over here. Oops. Okay, cool. So over here, I have this HTML document. I'm actually going to recreate the whole thing all over again. Why not, right? So I created a new project. If you want to do the same thing, what you can do is you can open up a folder, right? I recommend you open up a folder. You go to your documents. You go to Unlock Academy, create a folder called Floating Example. I'm going to call this one Old. I'm going to create a new one. Right, call it Floating Example. Okay. Inside of it, nothing is there, which is fine. So nothing is there. Next, go back to Atom. So now our folder is created. And inside of Atom, what we can do is we can say Open Folder. Right? Unlock Academy, Boom, go to floating example, select folder. Okay, and here we go. Now this is our folder. No, nothing is inside of it. So what I want you to do next is right click or go to file and go to new file. And then name it index.html, right? Our first file was always called index.html. I think I'm gonna have to close down Adam. It's confused about my old project. New window. Okay, open folder. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about the Apple comments, guys. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. But there are 10 different apps to do FaceTime. FaceTime is not the only app to do video messaging. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Okay, floating example. Nothing is inside of it. Let's open up this folder. Okay. Open a new window in recover state. Cool. All right, cool. So now we have our index.html. And then what I'm going to do here is start our new document. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to just probably copy and paste our normal setup. You guys know how we do it. This is our normal setup, right? Here we go. So we got our doc type, we got our HTML, we got our head, we got our body. Cool. Now we're ready to get going with coding. So what I want to show you guys how to do is I'm going to create a couple elements that are side by side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I want to create a couple different sections. I want to create pretty much this, and this is really important. It's called columns. So anytime you go to a website, let me go back over here so I can show you guys what I mean. I'd rather show you than tell you. Let's go over here to the Apple website, for example, right? This right here is two different columns. Over here is a column and they have an image with some text. Over here is another column where they have some text and then an image, right? This is another column next to each other. That's what we call them. Anytime you put content next to each other, you pretty much want to create a new column, add content to that column, and then start a new column over here to the next, to the left of it. To the right of it. Sometimes your columns can be super long, and you can put a bunch of content down, right? And then do the same thing over here. Sometimes you could just have a small column here, a small column here. This is what Apple's does. They have a small column, another column. So you can put columns underneath each other. So this is one column here. This is a whole separate one. This is a whole separate one. This is a whole separate one. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how to start building out that structure. But when you want to build columns, the first thing that comes to your mind should be divs. Remember, divs are containers to section off different content. So I'm going to create a div right here, open and close it, right? And then I'm going to give this an ID of column 1. Okay. So this is column number 1. I'm even going to make this a H1 indent, and then boom. I saved it. Now what I want to do is I want to go and show you guys exactly what it looks like so far. Cool. So that's it. It just says column 1. Now let's say I go ahead and do the same thing. Don't be like me and copy and paste. I want you guys to type the whole thing over. Boom, column number 2. And you know what? I'm also going to do a column number 3. Don't be like me, type this out. That way you get used to typing all your tags. So I'm going to go back over here, check my code out, refresh, column 1, column 2, column 3. But these aren't looking like columns, right? They're more so looking like rows because rows go from left to right. Columns, excuse me, they go pretty much on the y-axis from top to bottom, right? That's what's happening here. We want to go left to right with columns, put them next to each other. So in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to tell our columns to float next to each other. So we need to tell column 1, let's give it some CSS. So we go up here in our head, give it a style. Okay. And pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to say column 1, this. We want it to say float left. Okay. See if I go over here and refresh that. Boom, there we go. Column 1 is now floating to the left of column 2. We can go down and now we need to tell column 2 to float to the left of column 3. Okay. And then we need to tell column 3 to float to the left, to the right of column 2. So there we go. So we got column 1, column 2, and then column 3. Column 3 is way over here, and that's just because we haven't given any specific directions on how wide and how long these columns should be. So let's start giving some more details. First, I want to show you guys what this looks like with a border. I'm going to give a border to each and every single one of these elements. Okay. Cool. There we go. So we see this is a column, this is a column, that is a column. We can even add height. Save that, go over here back to my code, and there we go. Now we can see the height for it. So you can, now we have these columns and we can start making them whatever size we want. Okay. I'm even going to go a step further and then add column number 4. Then down here, column number 4. Column 4 is right here in a really weird position, and we really want column 4 to be on a whole different line. Oops. What we do is we can tell it to float clear. And it will put it on a separate line, but for some reason, float 1, float 2, float 3, column 4 isn't working. Let's not even focus on that right now. I could be debugging for 5-10 minutes. I don't want to do it. I want to make sure you guys get the lesson. So here we go. Everything straight. Column number 1 is 300 pixels long. I'm going to do the same thing for column number 2, and then the same thing for column number 3. Also, we can go ahead and we can say how wide we want these columns to be. I could say this one should be 25% of the page. This will make it 25% of the width of the page. This one will be the same thing. Okay. And that's going to be the same thing. All right. If we wanted to, we can make these all equal and they could be 33, 33, 33. And now you have 3 equal columns. Okay. So really cool. So now what I want to do is I want to show you guys, like, if I wanted to be able to add like a add a YouTube video here, add another YouTube video here. Then over here, I want to be able to add a link to some image. See if I can find me an image. Uh-oh. Moving too quick. Okay, copy image address. Remember, right click and then press copy image address, not copy link address. Okay, don't save image as unless you're trying to save it on your local computer, which you may want to do and put it to your images folder. Don't copy the image, copy image address. I'm going to take that link, paste it inside of here, close it, save it, over here and refresh my page and pray that it works. There we go. So now what I want to do is I want to make this look a little bit cleaner. So I'm going to add a width of 200. Let's see what it looks like now. Cool, that image got better. My iframe is a little bit huge, so you know what? I'm gonna make that width of 260, so that way it's not going too crazy on my page. And there we go. Okay, if I wanted to, I can add some more height to these. For these columns, oops, it's all my columns. I'm moving kind of quick just so I can show you guys. I want you guys to get used to seeing how you'll be coding soon. This is what you guys will be doing. You'll be going back and forth, refreshing these pages, copy and pasting, tweaking, see what you really like. I just noticed that I don't like that this image isn't taking up the whole, I mean, this video isn't taking up the entire width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, make my iframe width 100%. All right, so which means I need to get rid of the width here. You don't need the width here if you're going to do the width in the CSS. All right, go and refresh it. And boom, there you go. Now it takes up the entire width of the column. Another cool thing you can do is each one of these columns, you can give them a background color. I'm going to give it a gray. Let's see what it looks like. Nice. Give this a background color of yellow. And give this a background color of Don't worry about my design skills, guys. I'm not trying to be pretty here. Just want to show you guys how to do different things. So now any content I add here within this column 1 will all be inside of this column 1. I can go over here and I can add a P tag and say some random text about Muppets. Right? And now it falls right underneath inside of this column. So really cool. I want to add some text underneath this image. I can do the same thing here. It falls right into place. Okay. If for some reason I don't like how these columns are next to each other, I can add margin to them as well. I can say like add margin left, margin right, and then it will separate these columns away from each other. I'll give you an example. I know what's going to happen here though. Something's going to get pushed to another line, if I'm not mistaken. So let me see if I do margin right of 15 pixels. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it gets pushed over. And that's because I gave it 30%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to 30 and not 33%. That way we have some breathing room for margin. So now the width is just 30%, 30%, 30%, and I just add a little bit of space in between these columns. So CSS gives you the ability to really do a lot of different things. We can make things float next to each other. We can add borders. We can add height. We can add width. We can add background colors. There's so many different properties that I want you guys to just like over time start getting used to. You don't have to memorize any of them at any moment. You can Google it and it will show up. Some you will just naturally memorize over time because you use them so much. But others, you can always just know that they're just like one research away. Okay. Any questions, let me know. While you guys work on that, work on your questions, I want to start talking about the homework. So this is what you're going to be doing for homework. You guys are going to take this wireframe. All right, I built this wireframe for you, and I want you guys to actually recreate this whole view. All right, I want you to create this whole view over using strictly HTML. Okay. So you're going to use an image element here. You're going to put a big video element here. You're going to have a heading here. You're going to have a P tag here. And then you're also going to have some more images over here. These are all images. If you pay attention, you know what this looks like, right? See the similarity? So you guys, I'm telling you, you guys have the power. If I would have told you a couple weeks ago to recreate that you're going to be creating this whole view right here, you probably would have been like, yeah, right, whatever, right? But it's possible. You can do it. You really do it. You now have the tools to be able to do it. It's not going to be like a piece of cake, of course. Some of you guys are going to just knock it out, of course, because you go extra hard. I love it. But for some of you other people, it will be kind of challenging, which is fine. That's what I want. I want this to be a challenge. So yeah, have fun with it. You don't have to recreate everything on this view. You don't need a search bar. You don't need all of these links up here. You don't need to create like how time and all of this little subtext. But I do want you to have fun with it. Try to be creative. See what you can do. All right, and take your time with it. I really want you to just get used to exploring these elements, each one of them, and seeing how they play together, how this floats, how margin, how to add space in between certain things. I cannot wait to see what you guys do. Okay. I'm going to go back one step just because somebody asked a question and said, what if you wanted to move column 3 closer to column 2? So this is an example of, I'm going to show you a couple of things. For one, I'm going to show you how to use this inspect tool. Remember, we talked about the inspect tool. So you right click on the element. I want to right click on this column, click inspect. Right. And now, as you notice, this whole column is highlighted. Oops. So you can highlight this whole column. Now, what I want to do is, like you said, you want to move that closer to the other one. Remember what I talked about adding margin. Oops. Excuse me. Oops. Once again. Okay. So I don't know if you can notice that I'm going to hide my face down here so that way you can see the code. Okay. So right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a margin left, right? I want to change the margin left. And what I want to change about it is I want to add negative margin because I want to move it over. So I would do negative 50 pixels. Oop, that didn't work. There it goes. Margin right. So the negative didn't work, which is cool. I'd rather not even get into negatives anyway. So what you want to do is you give it a margin right. A margin right is saying make it further away from the right side of the screen, right? So as this number gets higher, it's going to keep on getting further and further away from the right side of the screen. Okay. As it get lower and lower, what you're saying is like, because this is 0, this is where it's at by default. If you give it a negative number, it's going to get closer and closer to the right side of the screen. You can mess around with this and tweak it. Okay. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Like I always say, margin left will work as well. I'm not sure why it didn't work in this particular example, but if I messed around with it, I'm sure I can get it to work too. So yeah, just try it out, tweak it, try different numbers. This inspector tool is really cool, right? I was able to do it right here from the web page. You guys can see me actually change it, tweak it, and now I can see like, okay, this is what I want. So now if this is the space I want, what I would do is I would highlight this, Control C to copy it, or right click and click copy. Go back to my code, column 3, right? Paste it here. Now I know exactly what I want. And then I can go back over here to the web page, refresh it because I have to refresh it so I can see the change. And boom, there you go. It's right where we wanted it at. So great question, Samantha. Okay. How you guys feeling? Let me know how you feel. Are you guys ready to knock this homework out? Ready to recreate this view? Ready to recreate YouTube? If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to hang around for a little while just to make sure you guys got all your questions out. We're reaching our 90-minute mark. Great job paying attention. Thank you for showing up yet again. I'm loving the consistency from you guys. I feel like I'm getting closer to my 2020. All right. Really cool. Here come the questions. The inspector tool, great question, is not inside of Atom, it's inside of Chrome. So to use the inspector tool, what you do is, and I show people this in the Cool Tools video, so watch my Cool Tools video. It'll be on YouTube tomorrow. You can right-click anywhere on a web page, click Inspect. So right-click Inspect, and you can manipulate anything on that web page, or you can just see it. You can just see like what is here. So I always like to show people how to how to change the views. You can literally, now this shows me right here. This is the code. It's a span, right? It's a span element. Somebody at YouTube worked on this. I can double click here and I can manipulate this, and I can add as many views to this video as I want. So now my views have, my video has about 1 billion views, which is really cool. You can change the font family. You can change the text. You can change the color. The sky is really the limit. Okay. Yeah, definitely. So take your time with this video, rewatch it. I'm always trying to drop a lot of jewels. I'm trying to test you guys out to see who can make it through. Literally, who can make it through all of this stuff, who can handle a little bit of challenges, who can handle a lot in the one lesson, who's going to have the patience to go back and rewatch the videos. I'm really like serious about this 2020. So I'm not going to be upset if some people leave, because I know it's not for everybody, in the sense that everybody doesn't have patience. Everybody doesn't have commitment. But if you're ready to tap into those things, then this is for you. So shout out to you guys. You guys are here. I'm not worried about you guys. If you're here today, I believe in you. Okay. So let's stay consistent. Yeah, 1,000 views. It's funny, Laura. Like it's so funny. This is kind of off topic, but I've uploaded videos to YouTube in the past. Different stuff like YouTube videos or videos with my daughter, stuff like that. And I watch the views to see how many views I get. This time I'm not even paying attention to the views at all. With the Unlock Academy, I'm just uploading these videos up there for you guys. I'm not trying to really like build up my channel. I'm putting it up there to make it more convenient for you guys. But I got the most views I ever got. Look, I got 1 billion views. This is crazy. I got 1 billion views. No, I'm joking. But seriously, like, I appreciate everybody going to watch this stuff. It makes me know I'm not doing it in vain. So keep up the great work. Creativity, I get it. Yeah, don't worry about being too creative. You don't have to be. Like I said, us software developers are not the designers. So you don't always have to build something beautiful. You need to just take this wireframe and bring it to life. Creativity is like extra credit stuff, okay? A watch pot doesn't boil. There you go with the jewels. I love it. Yeah, we're getting there. Like we're right there. Like I think this is like just another stepping stone. So remember our other wireframe that we're going to be building. It has products next to each other. I needed to show you guys how to use the float property. That way you know how to put all your products next to each other on the web page. So everything is cumulative. I'm building up to it. I'm really building up to show you guys what it looks like to get there. Okay. Once again, thank you to everybody who's here. Can't wait to see who sticks around. I already see the numbers kind of weaning out, and people who come in and go and stand like they're having family issues. I respect it, understand, prioritize, definitely handle that. To the people who just don't have time management skills, or watching too much Netflix or too much reality TV, or playing a video game too much, I really urge you guys to take this coding serious. Please take it serious. It will change your life like it changed my life. Put you in a lot of great positions, provide a lot of different opportunities. It's a good industry to be in right now because it's not going anywhere. There's so much potential, so many jobs open, so many people who need apps built, who need websites built. Be that person who fulfills the need. Believe me, it's room for all of us. That's why I'm even doing this, because I don't feel like I have to do this and teach myself. And like keep all of the money to myself or something like that. There's room for all of us. There's so much to go around. All right, cool. Cool, Jeremy. I'm glad you like it. On that note, if you guys can, got another survey going out. I'm trying to just keep improving, trying to keep on getting better. So please take a moment, fill out this survey. Please fill out the survey. Let me know what you guys think so far, okay? I would really appreciate it. I'm going to broadcast it. You're welcome, Laura. You guys are so welcome. Appreciate you, Queen, as well. Thank you for all the help, especially everybody who's helping out on Slack. I see Laura going extra hard to make sure people questions are getting answered. Nobody asked her to do that. I mean, I have asked all of you guys to do it, but I love the extent that she's going to, and a lot of you other guys. I see you guys jumping in and helping out. So please keep it up. So once again, the homework is to recreate this document, recreate this file right here, this wireframe. I hope you guys still have access to the homework document. If not, I'll post it. It's on Slack, and I'll post it again here. You can also get to it at the Unlock Academy website. Go to the homework tab. Okay. Cool. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna post this on Slack actually, so you guys can have it. And to everyone who's watching this replay video, to get access to this homework, it will be on the website. You'll know where to find it on the website. And that should be all you need to know. Okay, cool. So I hope you guys have a great evening. If you have time, get started, rewatch this video, let it play in the background while you guys are doing some things, whatever it takes to start learning this and digesting it, so that way you can knock the homework out. We have tutoring sessions tomorrow, so I would love for you guys to get started ASAP. That way you can ask your questions tomorrow at tutoring. All right. If not, you guys know where to find me. I hope you guys have a great evening. Have a great weekend. See you guys soon. Peace.